And what my vision was to marinate for a month or so.
All right, good evening. We'll call the March 2nd meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Before we get started, I want to say thank you one more time to this council for being at the signing ceremony for the mound this past week, and thank you for your work and doing the right thing for Franklin. Also, I want to announce that someone at the table is having a birthday this week. Might be the town manager, so wish her a happy birthday when you see her. All right. Vice Mayor Mike Lewis will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's not to the Republicans, Travis.
Order.
So we point him to the civility code over there.
All right, do I hear any changes or a motion to adopt the March 2nd Town Council agenda?
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Do I hear a motion concerning the approval of the consent agenda for March 2nd, 2026?
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. All right. Item number 5, recognition and presentations. I will recognize Council Member Travis Higdon.
At this time, I'd like to ask my dad, Denton Higdon, to come up and accept an award for 18 years on the planning board. Longest serving member, I believe.
You don't go.
I'll go first in with you.
Speech.
Justin, you'd like to say a few words?
Well, Denton, it's been an honor to get to work with you for the last 12 years I've been the planner, and then previously was on the planning board with you for about a year. We sat beside each other when I was on the board, so be missed, but thank you for your service and giving all the valuable time to the growth of Franklin.
Thank you for your service, Denton. All right, buddy. Thank you.
Yay, Denton.
Oh, yeah. I went fast.
All right.
See you in the early times, man.
Item number B, we have an update from the Vecinos organization. Miss Marianne Martinez, the Chief Executive Officer, is here with us tonight. I am a proud board member of Vecinos, and we're excited to hear all the good work that Vecinos is doing in the community.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me back again today. I appreciate it. I want to start by saying, because I may forget at the end, I do have brochures in case y'all would like some. I only have them in Spanish, but I do have them in English at the clinic. So I'm happy to bring those over, or y'all come over and visit us. I'd like to show you around. So I think the last time that I was here was maybe a year or so ago, and we hadn't opened the building over on 441. So we've been open since May 1st, and I wanted to come meet you. So our mission remains the same. We were founded in 2004, and we still provide equitable, culturally centered healthcare and wellness services. And we have specific patient qualifications, but we do focus on those in need of Spanish language services. So all of our staff is bilingual, and we also provide free, high-quality, and comprehensive bilingual primary care and behavioral health services, along with wraparound support services to any patients that qualify. So our qualifications are based on household income and health insurance status. We only do adults, we don't do pediatrics, and the patient has to have no other regular primary care provider for medical patients and no other regular therapist for behavioral health patients. So our income level threshold is at 250% of the federal poverty level. And the patient has to have no health insurance. We don't ever accept Medicaid. If y'all know somebody who's on Medicaid needing a provider, you may send them over to the Franklin Free Clinic, because I know they do carry a couple, or accept a couple of Medicaid insurances. Or what we call underinsured, where they just have a really difficult plan. Their premium is super high, or their deductible is really high. So we have a screening process that we do in the clinic to determine if they qualify as underinsured. And then no reasonable access to health care, meaning particularly our migrant farm workers in the region who work during the season. They're here for the season, and they work a lot of times until 7, 8 o'clock at night, and they don't have access to primary care. They can come see us, or we'll see them at our local clinics super late. So our programs and services are free to the patient, which y'all get at your primary care doctor. We can do as well. We do everything from annual checkups to toenail removals to looking at that weird spot on your back that your wife told you to go look at, phlebotomy, sick visits, all kinds of stuff. We also do a lot more than that. We do medication management. We also have a pharmacy. If y'all know any pharmacists that are looking for volunteer hours, please send them our way. We do comprehensive nurse visits, so lots and lots of different things that I don't get at my primary care doctor. It's above and beyond. I would also like to share that we are now accepting behavioral health patients who don't have to be our medical patients. So if y'all know somebody who needs just therapy in Spanish, please send them our way. They do have to qualify as our patient, so the household income and health insurance status are still qualifying factors, but it used to be if somebody wasn't our medical patient, we wouldn't accept them for behavioral health, and that's no longer true. So we're accepting behavioral health only patients. They can have medical care at a different clinic or Blue Ridge Health or wherever the case may be, but if they want to be seen in person in Spanish, we can help them with that. And we do all kinds of behavioral health services. We do 15-minute consultations, we do outpatient therapy, we do groups, all kinds of stuff. We sort of weave behavioral health into a lot of different things that we do. We also do social health services, particularly food assistance, and we also have exercise classes for our patients as well. So we figure if we're teaching them nutrition and chronic disease management and telling them, hey, you got to get your exercise, well, you know, we've got to help them with that as well. So that's why we do exercise classes twice a week. We do still have our mobile clinic, and that we use for our migrant farm workers. Macon County is our biggest county that we serve now. Between Macon and Jackson, that's where a lot of our migrant farm workers are. We also do health screening events, so you may see us more in the community with our mobile clinics. We still have our Cullowhee Clinic over on Western's campus in their HHS building, the Health and Human Sciences building. We've been there since 2013. And then, of course, our new place over on 441, Smoky Mountain Drive. And we are accepting new primary care behavioral health patients. There's no wait period. So I know that in my world, the Medicaid and health insurance changes are very scary right now, and they're projecting that about 600,000 North Carolinians are going to be without health insurance in a very short amount of time, and it's very important that our neighbors don't go without health care, especially those of us that have chronic disease. We can help them with medication, with medical care, with behavioral health, all kinds of stuff. So if you know somebody who's about to lose their health insurance and they meet our patient qualifications, please send them to us. We are open in that building Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. So our last appointment is at 8:30 p.m. So it's late appointments. We want to make sure we're there for people when they get off work or after they drop off their kids after school. So we want to be flexible with our timing. We also do telehealth. And I've added our phone number on there to the slides. It's just our main line. So. I also want to mention that the Community Health Hub is a hub for all kinds of different healthcare. So it's integrated and collaborative, and there's other partners in there with us. Physical Legal Services is in there, and before the federal funding was cut, the 30th Alliance, 30th Judicial District Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence Alliance. I know it's going to be it's a really long name, and Mountain Projects are all in there, so we're hoping that they'll be able to find something and come back with us. We do hope to have dental care in there. We're looking for a partner to come in and provide dental care for us. We do health insurance enrollment through our partners, legal services, all kinds of stuff. So people come in not only just for Vecino services, but for our partner agencies as well. We do, like I mentioned, have bilingual staff. We're focused on emergency planning for ourselves and for partner agencies. We've got a pretty big Dogwood grant to help manage that initiative. And we're also turning it into what we call a resiliency hub by installing solar panels, which will be put up this summer. Let's see. By 2035, so in about 10 years, we plan to serve around 5,000 patients. That's our capacity that we've got projected right now. We'd like to provide specialist visits for folks. So if y'all know of anybody who's interested in coming in and doing, once a month specialist visits for free for our patients, definitely let us know. We've got space for community use. There's a community room in there, capacity 75, where people are doing events and meetings and all kinds of stuff. And I mentioned the crisis response and our wraparound services already. So I wanted to share a little video here. Let's see if it works. Is this connected to the internet? Okay, that's okay. I'll send, maybe if I send it out to you, maybe people can watch it. Okay. The video is just something that y'all can share with folks who you may come across. It's about how to become a patient, essentially. It's on our social media as well, so if you know anybody who is looking, maybe a little nervous, they don't want to go to a new place, or they're not sure, they've maybe had a bad experience with a doctor before. It's a lot of us, and a lot of our patients come to us with that kind of experience too. So we want to make sure that we are addressing the needs of everybody that we can. So just feel free to send them over to us. This is Maria, our front desk receptionist. She's very sweet, makes everybody feel at home. So I promise if you have somebody who's nervous, Maria will make them feel right at home. And then I wanted to share our contact information with you as well. And we do have volunteer opportunities posted on our website under our careers page. Any questions?
Thank you, Mary Ann. Any questions from the board?
Right. What is your main source of funding?
Our main sources of funding are foundations. So Dogwood Health Trust is one of those foundations, but Leon Levine Foundation, Direct Relief, Fund for Health Equity, all kinds of different foundations locally, statewide, and nationally, as well as the Office of Rural Health through the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Those are our biggest sources of funding.
Since May, about how many people, the community members, have been served?
So in 2025, we served 1,100 patients. So we opened in May. I don't know, I have to look and see what the numbers are just from May to today, but I do know in 2025 we had around 1,100 patients, and we weren't anywhere near capacity yet, so yeah.
Did you say you were providing dental care or you hope to start?
No, so we have a dental suite. It's a 4-laboratory dental suite, and we built it with a partner in mind, and then it ended up, they didn't have capacity to join us at the last minute, and so it is there. It's beautiful. It's still wrapped in plastic. We have a Panorex and chairs and all kinds of stuff in there. It's ready for somebody to come in and help us. We don't do dental services, so that's why we're looking for a free clinic or even an FQHC to come in and help us provide those services.
Good.
And just to be clear, anybody who meets those income qualifications can access health care there.
Yeah, so income, health insurance, and again, we don't do pediatrics.
Do you want to speak to your relationship with Franklin Farm House and what's
Oh,
going to
thank
be
you,
happening there?
Yeah, Mia just had a wonderful article in the Franklin Press about us. So the International Friendship Center up in Highlands is spearheading this project between Vecinos, what's the organization called?
Smoky Mountain Harm Reduction.
Thank you, Smoky Mountain Harm Reduction and the Franklin Farm Hub. And we're putting up food kiosks at a couple of different places. I don't remember all of them. We'll have one at Vecinos. I think there's going to be one at the church. Yeah. And it'll be a barrier-free, if you can say that, low barrier access for food at any of those places. So it's just one of the ways that we work with our other partners across Macon County and across the region, trying to bring kind of a holistic approach to healthcare, making sure that people have access to healthy food is important for health, and so social determinants.
And those have solar-powered refrigeration as well. Yeah.
They will.
Nice.
They will. They're not up yet, but they
Yeah.
will.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'll leave these. Yeah. Thank
Thanks a lot, Marianne. Item number C, there's a lot of exciting things happening in Uptown Franklin. We just received the designation for as a historic district in downtown Franklin, which will qualify the structures in downtown in the historic district for up to 35 to 40% in terms of tax credits for renovations and rehabilitation. So we hope that spurs some redevelopment downtown. Part of the work that we're doing, uptown, sorry. Part of the work that we're doing involves our reentry into the Main Street program. And one of the requirements for reentry is a Main Street visioning plan. And here to talk to us about that tonight is Allison Smith from the North Carolina Department of Commerce.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so as Mayor Guffey said, my name is Allison Smith, and I work with the North Carolina Department of Commerce. I am housed within the Rural Development Division, and also within the Rural Development Division is the Rural Planning Program, the North Carolina Main Street Program, and the Outdoor Economy Office. So I'll talk a little bit more about all of those. And as Mayor Guffey said, tonight I'm here to discuss the potential for pursuing a downtown-focused economic development plan. So in order to be admitted to the Main Street Program, which I know is an exciting goal of the town of Franklin, a community is required to participate in a pre-Main Street program called Downtown Associate Communities, and that application will be coming out in 2027, springtime of next year, so we're about a year out, and that application will ask all about your strategies for the activation of your downtown. And so the plan that we're talking about here tonight is a plan that would really help set Franklin up for success for that application to the Downtown Associate Community Program. and then later Main Street. Doing a plan like this is not a guarantee that the town would be accepted into either DAC or the Main Street program, but it is certainly something that can be supportive. So I have a few slides to share tonight, and please stop me if you have questions along the way. So as I mentioned, the North Carolina Main Street and Rural Planning Center works in cities, towns, and counties throughout the state. We inspire placemaking through building asset-based economic development strategies. And again, we want to emphasize the economic impact of the work that we do. So I'm one of 8 rural planners that covers the state. I cover the Western Prosperity Zone, so the 13 westernmost counties of the state. And our office provides strategic economic development planning. I'll talk a good bit more about that here this evening. We also provide technical assistance in training and education. So we host the North Carolina Main Street Conference that is happening a week from now out in New Bern. I'm really excited. And we also provide webinars and other hands-on technical assistance focused around community development, economic development, grant support, project implementation. And then we also do provide a couple of different grant programs, most often focused around downtown facade improvement or sidewalk infrastructure, things of that nature that improve the vitality of your downtown spaces. So our strategic economic development planning services range from one-day board retreats, envisioning workshops, all the way up to 5-year strategic plans. We also can focus in on a specific area of the economy, such as the outdoor recreation economy or a downtown corridor. And so what is being explored in Franklin is a downtown economic development planning process that really focuses on activating local business, facade improvements. It can be in conversation with the streetscape plan that is on the agenda later this evening. I should also say this is a different, completely different process from the streetscape planning project. But again, I think that the two can really be in conversation with each other and build from each other. So these areas of focus are really the heart of what we do. Capacity building, economic advancement, and placemaking. So when we're talking about capacity building, we want to make sure that any plan that is developed does not sit on a shelf. I know y'all don't want that, I don't want that. And so throughout the planning process, we will be thinking about what local entity is responsible for implementing a certain project that was identified, or what funding sources will really position an organization for success, or what funding sources might be tapped into for a particular project that is really meaningful to the community. Economic advancement. So when we're talking about economic advancement, that is often related to support for local businesses and entrepreneurs. I often see our office as a resource connector. So, we might not have all services housed under the NC Commerce umbrella, but we're really connected to resource providers throughout the region, related to historic preservation, entrepreneur support, and so throughout the planning process, we'll bring in those voices as well. And we're asset-based economic development building. So rather than thinking about developing an industrial site or attracting the next 400-person employer, we are thinking about what are your existing assets like the AT, the Bartram Trail, the historic downtown buildings. How do we leverage those existing assets for economic development? Not to say that site development and business recruitment isn't valuable. This is just a different flavor of economic development that is asset-based and community-based. And then finally, placemaking. So stewarding our natural assets, connecting to our outdoor recreation assets, and then promoting and maintaining that unique character that makes Franklin a special place. So how would this all work? This slide is meant to dive into the process of what you might expect if you pursue a downtown economic development plan. So we are in this green phase right now at the top, where there have been a couple of preliminary conversations with community stakeholders and with the town. There's interest in pursuing this plan, and hoping that it leads to a redesignation of Franklin being in the Main Street program. And so what would come next is the formalization of the plan through an MOU and resolution. I believe all of the council members have copies of that. And really what we would expect from the town is having someone from either the staff or from council who can participate in what we call a local work group that really guides the trajectory of this plan. We would lean on the town to help identify meeting spaces for those work group meetings. And we would also, early on in the process, want to work with the town to do a tour of the downtown corridor to help get our team on the same page about what are the strengths downtown, what are the challenging spots, what are projects you really want to dive into. And all of that would happen, the tour and the formalization of the work group would happen fairly early. So that work group, again, is a group that guides the planning process. This is roughly 8 to 10 folks that represent the business community, the town, maybe really strong nonprofit organizations that are engaged, the farmers market. You all get to decide who participates in that work group. And then that work group spearheads community engagement. And we would hope, since the DAC application is coming out about a year from now, that this plan would take about a year, depending on how frequent we want to meet, how much public engagement, how deep we want to go into public engagement, but I think a year is appropriate. And that work group would support me in identifying stakeholders to interview. We would develop a community survey. We would also host a community visioning workshop later in the year. After all of that input is collected, we start to draft the plan. Along the way, once those preliminary recommendations are made, once key projects are identified, we will do another presentation to council to make sure you all are aligned and aware of the direction and the flavor that the plan is taking. And then finally, we would reach plan adoption. And so, want to speak just briefly about the economic positioning statement. This is something that we would do during the community visioning workshop. This is essentially a vision statement, but we call it an economic positioning statement because we will identify specific sectors that the town wants to grow. So is it farm to table food? Do we need to lean harder into opportunities related to the outdoor rec economy? We will do visioning exercises with the full community and establish that economic positioning statement that really guides the plan from there on out. This slide, I just want to highlight that we believe in incremental transformation. So with incremental transformation, we believe that small projects have a snowball effect. So things may be as simple as planters downtown or really intentional facade improvements. Those snowball and show visitors that folks who live in Franklin really do care. And we will, this implementation chart I think is really good for highlighting what type of recommendations might come out of the planning process. And again, it just goes back to projects. Grounded in reality, grounded in an awareness of who on the ground is going to be implementing. All of that really is to say that we just want these plans to be very usable. It's not going to be a 300-page document that sits on a shelf. We really want you all to take it and be able to run with it. This is a project that was implemented in Mount Airy. So they had like we all do, these boring alleyways, they wanted to turn it into something special. And so they came up with this vision for Melva's Alley. So this picture in the middle, I think was AI generated. But the picture on the far right, this is what it really looks like. This was a picture taken during a concert over the summer. And so again, that's that project-based economic development where you take something, you have that vision, and then we work collaboratively to bring that vision to life and activate a space downtown. So that's just one example of a project, a type of project that we could look at in this planning process. And then, we want to be here to help you vision and to help imagine what can be for our downtown spaces. So these are a couple of examples of visioning exercises that other communities have done. All right, what questions do you have for me?
Any questions from the board?
Yeah.
How many communities in Western North, in your region, are you working with currently?
Right now, I am working with 3. Yeah. And that's, I would say that 1 to 2 years feels appropriate for, in like an average time frame, a 1 to 2 year assessment is an easier lift than a full 5-year plan.
Yeah.
But I would say it's typical for a planner to work with anywhere between like 3 and 6 communities at a time.
Okay.
I want to ask Devin Dupuy to come up for a second and talk about how this fits into our process to re-enter the Main Street program and what we've done so far.
Absolutely, thank you. Mayor Guffey and I have been talking about the Main Street program for I don't know how long now, and it's been really exciting over the last few months specifically to see some of the collaborations that have come to life with the mayor, with town staff, with representatives from the Department of Commerce, and also with representatives from the North Carolina Main Street Center who have been helping to guide us as well. So as a result of these collaborations, we're currently working on a list of ways to get ourselves ahead of the game for that 2027 application that Allison mentioned for the DAC program. One of those items includes forming an official management structure for the program, which is a requirement for all DAC and North Carolina Main Street communities. So to get started on that, we have gone ahead and registered all of the necessary documentation for a North Carolina Main Street nonprofit with the North Carolina Secretary of State. The next steps for that will be the incorporators, which includes Mayor Guffey, will appoint a board of directors and sign authority of the nonprofit over to the board of directors. That board of directors will include representation from town council, town staff, downtown business owners, and other stakeholders. That will be a small group of people, most likely 5 to 7. And that board of directors will also be very highly involved with this economic development planning process that we will hopefully embark on with Allison over this next year. We will also begin forming that slightly larger stakeholder group that Allison referenced, and we will expand that group to include, I believe it was 8 to 10 people total, who will really be the feet on the ground and the people who are bringing insights to the table as the Department of Commerce has questions around this visioning plan that we are creating. Other than that, our biggest to-do list item at this point is really just educating ourselves on the Main Street program and what we need to do in order to get where we want to be within the next few years. Mayor Guffey has set the bar pretty high because he's been immersing himself in the Main Street program for many years now. I'm doing my best to catch up through the online courses at the Main Street America Academy, as well as learning from folks like Allison. Also, I know that our finance director has been researching the DAC application that will be submitted in 2027, so that is well underway. And also, a group of us are attending the North Carolina Main Street Annual Conference next week. So that is where we are at the moment, and we hope to take big strides going forward as we start to work with Allison. Do you all have any questions on where we are with our local group and what we're doing to keep up with the statewide program?
Sounds great.
Any questions? Yes.
I just also wanted to remind council that Sarah Bishop is serving currently as the Main Street coordinator, but in looking at the tasks that she has to do, some of the projects that the town has going and things like this, being able to utilize a nonprofit to actually take care of these things for the Main Street program, still having the ability to have some governance over that as an advisory capacity is going to help us and help the Main Street program to progress much further than it has in the past 2 years with all of our best laid plans of mice and men, but we tried.
Yes, and just to build on that for reference, of the over 70 Main Street designated communities in North Carolina, more than 80% of them utilize a nonprofit structure as their management structure because it has been found to be the most successful option thus far.
Well, they're able to do things that a town can't
Yes,
as a nonprofit.
Absolutely, 501c3s are funding that towns cannot, and they're also not governed under, the same laws and requirements, so there are other things that they can do, absolutely. Are there any other questions I can answer? All right.
Thank you, Devin.
Thank you.
Any other questions for me?
Any questions before we take action? Remind us of the cost.
Free of charge to the town. So these are services that are provided to rural communities in North Carolina, so this comes at no cost.
Do I hear a motion related to the approval of memorandum of understanding and the resolution from town council?
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. All right, next item on our agenda is our public session. Do we have anyone signed up to speak? We have no one signed up for public comment. So we will move into item number 7, items from the council. I'll recognize Vice Mayor Mike Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor. I know the agenda says request approval, and that's my fault, but once we got into this a little further, I thought we should just introduce this tonight and let it marinate, maybe put it on the town's website. But what it is we're looking at changing the name of, instead of calling Town Hill proper, we're calling it Uptown instead of Downtown, and calling East Franklin and West Franklin, making them sort of their own little districts, give them some of their own identity, East Downtown Franklin and West Downtown Franklin. Main Street literally sits on the top of Town Hill. I mean, the term uptown is geographically accurate. But also, I think and I made some notes here and I don't have my readers, so helps tourists find, things, businesses more easily, that you can promote events in specific districts, developers and entrepreneurs better understand target areas, helps market available properties, helps with revitalization efforts, it might even help with grant funding applications, helps business owners coordinate. I mean, obviously, the Merchants Association up here does a good job. It would help these other districts maybe work together, having sort of collaboration. You could have like the downtown days where one downtown area does something, another downtown area does another thing, uptown sort of does its thing. It does not change any legal or emergency designations. It does nothing to addresses, zoning. It doesn't change the way emergency services, it has nothing, but will not affect any of that. And just sort of gives these areas, I think, and lets east and west areas, those people, business owners, property owners know that, they're part of this too. Sort of gives them an opportunity to develop their own identity. So just something I think that, it's something I've thought about for the last couple of years and only really got more serious about it over the last several months. And over the years I've talked to merchants about it casually, never really ran into any opposition about it. But, and Amy, I guess we can put that on the website if we want to for people to look at it and maybe take it up again next meeting, see where we're at. And if I'm sure somebody may wants to come speak on it, they're obviously welcome to come speak on public session.
But that's where we're at. So just sort of mull it over and take it into account and see what you think about it, and we'll take it up in a month and see where we're at.
Any comments from board members? Just say we had a good discussion about this at our retreat, and I would reiterate a couple of points that the vice mayor made. One being that it helps us think about different redevelopment activities or entertainment activities in these other districts. If we distinguish East and West Franklin and be a little more inclusive in terms of using the word downtown, sometimes people will ask the question, they'll say, well, you focus a lot on downtown Franklin. What about the other districts? And I think that's a really good point. I mean, you could make the argument that we focus a lot on downtown because that's where it's the densest part of town in terms of the built environment. It's also a good return on town investment because of that density and because of the infrastructure that it sits on top of. But I think business owners in other districts make a good point, and this is just a way to facilitate more activity in those districts. So thank you, Vice Mayor, for bringing that up, and we'll revisit it in April.
Thank you.
All right, item number 8, new business. To request approval of ordinance ordering the town code enforcement officer to cause the dwelling located at 547 Womack Street to be vacated, closed, and demolished. And we'll hear from Town Attorney John Henning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and council members, this is an ordinance brought forward by Angela Green, your code enforcement officer. A minimum housing matter where when houses fall below the threshold, which you've set at 50% of value, by which it could be improved and be brought back up to code, and if it falls below it, it's to be ordered to be demolished. This particular property actually goes back to Angel's predecessors. They started to work on some code enforcement with that property in 2023. So we have had a good long runway to try to get it up to snuff, and it just hasn't happened. So the next order of business is to bring this ordinance forward that directs your code enforcement officer to take those next steps. And so that I don't anticipate, I do want to make you aware that there is a slight possibility we would need to file a lawsuit if there was a reason to think we didn't have, which we used to do in the past with all of these. Chapter 160D made it clear that an ordinance is authority enough to just move forward with it. Occasionally you have ownership difficulties to make sure that you've got everybody at the table, but I think that's happened here. So effectively after this, unless we have to take some other step like that, the next steps will be to have it demolished. It'll be a lien against the property that you ideally one day collect back. We've had a number of these through the last several years, and I think in your agenda package you had pictures of the property and can see it's in a dilapidated sort of state. Happy to answer any questions about it, but an adoption of the ordinance is in order.
And it's my understanding we don't need to have a public hearing around that.
No, sir. We've done that in the past, and I don't ever have any problem. And of course, our goal with these is always compliance. You're not looking to go out of your way to go demolish a dwelling anywhere. You can have a hearing on it if you feel motivated to. We've done it in the past. It gave a property owner another month to think about it and know what we really are at the end of this. It's not legally required because you are not, even though it's in the land use area, it's in Chapter 160D is our land use regulations. And if you're going to amend a map or amend a zoning ordinance, that's when you're required to advertise a public hearing and have the public come and tell you what they think about it. For this particular thing, it's just about minimum housing code enforcement, and it's all been a public process already, but you can have more public hearing of it if you want to, but it's not required.
And no response from,
I think they've been in, from the owner, I think they've been in touch. This property has been inherited a couple of times with no deed ownership change. So it's sort of a couple of generations back in use, if that makes sense. And I know that Angela has been in touch with them, but not, there hasn't been meaningful progress toward actual compliance.
can you reiterate that this is not a taking?
It's not a taking, that's correct. It's more in the vein of nuisance, or saying that, the way that this is being kept is now harmful to surrounding properties because it, emits vermin, and it could be dangerous. There's parts of that are ready to fall down. So it's oriented to public health, safety, and welfare. And if an owner who's been shown this property can't be fixed for more than 50% of the value of this thing, they've got plenty of opportunity to show, no, that's not true. And if whatever they felt like spending on it to do, that'd be fine. We don't want to,
Or they could have torn it down themselves.
Yeah, they could have done that themselves. If they wanted to show that there was something valuable there that we'd be taking. Now, there are some things that safeguard any value that is on the property, such as if the town has to go hire a contractor to come do this, they are required to save aside anything of value. So we make sure that there's whatever value there is gets preserved. The property also does not just devolve to the town. We're not taking any title to anything unless we have to foreclose a lien. And even then, it's anything left over from a sale at a foreclosure would go back to the owner. So except for the cost of doing business here, the public's business of trying to not have this property diminish the value of all the surrounding properties, there's nothing comes to the town.
Have they been paying their taxes?
I believe the taxes are paid up. I
wasn't asked, I don't know.
And they don't, this property's in the ETJ, so they wouldn't be paying.
Right, the town taxes.
Just over it.
Yeah.
Just like a hop, skip, and a jump over it. It's very close, yeah.
And it's absolutely terrible. I mean, nobody could think that they could do anything with it other than tear it down.
I believe that's true.
Yeah. Make a motion that we adopt the ordinance. Thank you, John.
We have a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? I'll just make one comment. Ms. Manager, if you'll, on behalf of the board, commend Ms. Green on her enforcement activities. We've heard a lot of things from community members in various communities about how these kinds of actions improve their communities. Hillside Street is probably the best example we have of something this board did and our staff did. And thank you, Justin, and thank you, Amy, and thank you, John. Any more discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item B, request approval of contract for purchase of fire attack apparatus tanker. We'll hear from our town manager and our planner, IT director, fire chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you'll see in your packet, we have done the RFP for this second fire attack apparatus. First opening in November with only one vendor responding, and then we left it open again beginning December 1st through January the 9th. That same vendor did respond again. They are currently the vendor who is working on our other fire attack apparatus, which hopefully will be ready mid-summer this time. There is a truck committee that the fire department works closely within itself to make sure that these trucks, when they're built and priced, has everything that they need on them. They reviewed all the submissions, determined that one respondent did meet all the qualifications, and they were okay with Melton Fire Group, who does a towing fire truck, to do so. The fire department does have funds available to purchase at the contract price, which is $599,592.67. So with that, the request is to approve the contract, and it has been reviewed by the town attorney, as well as to do a budget amendment, which actually pulls the money from the fire department's fund balance into their capital outlay vehicles so that this purchase can move forward.
This cabin chassis, it won't take as long as this other one.
775 days is what's in the contract, so
So, okay, well,
it still will take some time.
It might get a little quicker because the customs.
they're not building this one from the ground up like they are the other one.
Yeah, it'll be a Kenworth chassis. It's a 35-gallon tank.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
Is this a fire truck? I mean, just a fire truck?
It's a tanker. It's a tanker, I mean, but it'll still have, crossway line. You could, fight fire with it as well, but it's, a tanker.
And this replaces the second of those two trucks that were basically on our last leg, am I right? Am I correct in that?
Yeah, it'll take our current tanker, 1152, it'll move it it'll go to the substation, but it'll still be in service. But some of those older ones, the 1991 and the 94, we'll make them more like reserve, in case we have,
And the one it's replacing is the 2,000 gallon.
Yeah, it's just gonna move it to more, it'll still be in line, but
Yeah,
it'll
right.
probably go to the substation and be stationed out there once this one comes.
Any further discussion?
Can I just clarify, is the motion also to do the budget amendment that's required to do that? So,
Yeah. I mean, we knew we were gonna do this. We've talked about it now for how many years? Because after we ordered the other one, we knew this one was coming, so, and they can pay for it, so, out of their budget.
And they can pay for the other one that is on its way as well. So both trucks will be paid for in.
And I don't quite understand why it is like this, but this is what any fire apparatus market is like this, or worse. So I don't, it's eye-popping, but this is what it looks like.
ARPA money. I mean, that's what it's,
That's what it says.
people are spending people are spending that ARPA money, or getting toward the end of it, obviously, but I'm sure a lot of those orders a couple of years ago, that's what they was paying for them.
Any further discussion on the approval of the contract and the budget amendment? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. It's rare, but occasionally I make a mistake, and I realize that we let the vice mayor bring his item from the council, but I failed to recognize the other council members for their items from the council. So we'll start with Mr. Collins.
I had one, but I'm not putting it up now.
Mr. Higdon.
Not tonight.
Ms. Selene.
John, we got a memo from you today about Duke, and I wondered if that was going to be added to the agenda or not tonight. Okay.
I had hoped to get to that at your retreat.
Right,
to
okay.
Just explain what it is, and instead of dropping it on you and saying, hey, hustle up and do something about this, or let me
Okay.
hearing word salad at you, just y'all read it and it'll
Do
be
it
on,
next
it will
week.
be on the
Okay.
agenda next week. Yes.
Okay, next one. That's it?
Anything else, Mr. Lewis?
So are Bryson City, are they getting ready to pass a resolution or ordinance against these data centers? Did I read that right today, John? Is it Bryson City or Swain County?
I think it's when James, but that's.
Obviously, that would.
At the retreat, Bryson City, I don't think they're in a whole lot of danger to that. It's not the room, but I do think we need to look at that.
Mr. Tompa.
Mine was just kind of a plea for our community members to get involved. I mean, we got a lot of plans and things going on with Main Street and the great organizations like Allison just presented to us. So business owners, community members, get your friends to come and be a part of these surveys and group thinks. We only have so many thoughts up here, so please get involved. I know we got the typical ones that will volunteer, so get some more people out here, please.
Mr. Berry. All right, let it be known that that is my one and only mistake for the year 2026. Got some weird looks from the audience. All right, we'll be talking about Main Street again, and we'll hear from our town manager and Christy Carter about the request to approve the scope for service for the Main Street redesign.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Christie comes up, we'll talk a little bit about it. Of course, we did put the RFQ out for the Main Street redesign project in November and left it open till January because we knew this is going to be a transformative project and will be a huge project for the town. So we wanted to give enough time for individuals to respond. We received 9 proposals, which we were very pleased with. Of those, we did some interviews with 4 different firms and decided that there were 2 that we just really couldn't choose between. So we asked if they would be willing to work together. So the John R. McAdams Company, or as we're going to refer to them from now until the end of time as McAdams, will be the prime consultant, and Tool Engineering will be a sub-consultant. And they've both worked together to produce the scope of service that is in the packet. Decided to put this under a task order format because that makes it a lot easier to bring things back to you all instead of trying to do what's going to happen in the next 8 to 10 months all in one, because we also cross budget years. So task order 1 will take us through June 30th, and you have that in your packet. And then we'll get together and learn more about what the costs are going to be, so when we budget for the upcoming year, we'll have that included in the budget. So I will let Christy tell you a little bit about what you've seen. The proposed scope is $98,856 and would require a general fund balance appropriation to pay for that, so that budget amendment is also included in your packet as well.
Hi, I'm Christy Carter from McAdams, and I did not prepare a presentation in talking to Amy and Stacy or Mayor Guffey that I said I could be here to answer questions, but I will give you the nutshell of the work that we plan to do, particularly in this first task order, and talk a little bit more about why we didn't try to scope everything out at the beginning. As you know, the Main Street is an NCDOT managed road. And in order to get DOT involved, in order to do a project along an NCDOT road, there's always some type of data collection that needs to be done. And right now, we don't know what that looks like. So with task order 1, what we've set out, one thing that Mayor Guffey and Vice Mayor Lewis communicated is we want this to be a community-driven plan and vision, and I've already talked to Allison about how we're going to get our language straight between Main Street visioning and Main Street visioning. So we'll have some conversation about that. But there does need to be a vision so and that's what will happen in task order 1, and it'll allow us to start having those conversations with DOT to understand where they are, what they see as opportunities along Main Street, and then get the community involved. So I'm glad that you put out a call for getting community members involved, because this definitely is going to require a lot of community thought and thinking, because anytime you talk about Main Street and changing things or tweaking things, that people need time to talk about that. And then once we get to kind of in later spring, we'll do a community design workshop, and I think there's some opportunities to connect with the Main Street program work that you're doing. And then by the time we get to June, we would have had 2 targeted conversations with NCDOT, a couple of different ways that we're involving the community. And once we get to that point, we will have a clear vision on what we need to scope for task order 2, how much that's going to cost, what did we learn through the process, what does the community want this to look like, what constraints are we working with NCDOT, so that we can just give you a very good and accurate cost estimate, because if we were to do that now, we would put a lot of cushion in there, and I don't want to bring that number to you because I don't think that's fair. So I'm glad that you all were willing to work that way. If you'll notice, the biggest price tag on this particular part of the project is that community engagement, particularly because we're going to do a community design workshop that will last 2 solid days, and then plus some of the involving you all as council, involving the strategic steering committee, involving the broad community through surveys and focus groups and things like that. So that is the biggest part of that. That will continue to be a cost, but it won't be as high as we work through task order 2. So I can answer any questions that you may have about it. And Amy has given me a date to get that second number to her, so we know what we're working for.
Yeah, we obviously want the public to be involved in this. I mean, that's why, I think you ask any of us around this table, the reason we want to do it is to make it a place where residents want to come and hang out and be and enjoy themselves. And if you're sitting on the couch on a Saturday afternoon, what do you want to do? Well, let's just go down and hang out on Main Street for the afternoon. Exactly. So how do y'all get maximum participation? Is there anything y'all do in particular to get maximum participation for that?
Yeah, we mentioned the word parking, and that gets everybody out. I say that somewhat in jest, but that usually is the way to get people out.
Well, whatever works.
But like early things that we do, even just talking about the marketing and branding of this project, there's a little small line item in that community engagement budget to say, we named this is what this is. But COVID changed how we do community engagement, and we've gotten really good about trying to connect with people in many, many different ways. So getting small bites from here and there. So we have in-person events, we have the community design workshop, which I think if we promote and use, leverage the networks that you all have, people get excited about that, because when we do that workshop, we'll be here for 2 days drawing things, talking to people. So if you say, I have an idea to put an ice cream shop in the middle of a roundabout, we're like, okay, cool, we can draw that in. I mean, but people see what happens. And then website presence, we've put in a little bit of budget to, if we need to design postcards for mailings. It's just like, we look, and we also have in there stakeholder analysis. I think one of you requested that specifically, that we take some time to do that. And so one of the very first tasks we will work with you on is to sit down and say, who has to be at the table and how do we get them, and then implement that plan. So it's the more ways you can try to touch someone to get them to the table, whether it's a virtual table or a physical table, the better we will be on that. And again, we'll mention parking. Well,
and you use the word transformative, and I just want to expand on that. I mean, this is not going to be some paint and some trash cans. I mean, it is going to be, this is going to be a transformative, and the community really needs to be involved in it. They need to say, I want a place where I can come, stroll, hang out, eat, have a drink, whatever that is. I mean, we want everybody to have input in this, because it is going to be a very big deal. So,
Christy, we have some uptown property owners here tonight, and business owners. If you wouldn't mind just to quickly go through what we've asked, and to follow up with Mike's term there, transformative, and I think we used the word generational. If you wouldn't mind to go through a little bit of the scope
Sure.
what we're looking at.
I have that on my phone, so I'm not texting. I am going to make sure I hit all the things that I need to talk about. Business owners, can you raise your hand real quick? Just so I know who I'm talking to? Okay, cool. So the way this, so I was sitting back there and I kind of had this vision in my head of if you asked a question like that, how I was going to talk about it. And since we're in Franklin and we have the history of gem mining, you know how you have those stacks of screens and you have a bigger screen and it goes down to a smaller screen and a smaller screen and a smaller screen and you finally get to that little flexible at the bottom. If you think about that, the way that we're going to involve people, and that when I say people, that means you as business owners, that means NCDOT. At that top level, we're kind of going to throw all the ideas in and say, talk to you and say, what do you need to bring more people to your business? How do you, what do you hear about parking? What are people struggling with? What do you hear about people trying to cross the street? What do you hear about speed? Gather all that information, have a targeted conversation with DOT, kind of shake that down a little bit, see what works, and what do we have to toss back into the creek. And then we have another round of similar conversations of like, okay, so we heard you. Here are the ideas that came out of that first round of conversation with you. We're still trying to figure out exactly what works. Then we shake it another time, we should maybe shake it a couple more times. So by the time we get to the end, we're involving people at each of those points to say, what do you want? What do you need? Let's test it. Let's figure out how we can get that as close as possible. And by the time we get to the end, what you're going to have when we walk away is a concept plan, and that's a long rollout plan that you all see a couple different times. That's also going to include an implementation plan, meaning here's how you do that. So you'll have, your vision is going to be a giant roll plot with a booklet that says here's how you go forward and you do this work. And the more we have those touch points along the way so that people can say, here's my big vision, you mostly got it right, now refine this so that you can go out and implement that. That's putting it in broad terms. And then most of the early work in task order 1 gets us probably to like when we really start refining down in terms of our gem mining. That was a really bad analogy, and I can't believe I actually did that. But there you go. Does that answer what you want me to?
Yes, thank you.
We approved this tonight. When would that first basket, when it's asked for community members to chime in, when would that begin?
Probably, and it depends on the first level. We'll be working with, we'll have a kickoff with town staff and whoever they want to invite for that piece, just so we can get oriented, similar to how Allison mentioned the town tour. And then we're looking at May-ish for that first design workshop where people really can come in. But we have the survey release before that. We'll have some public information before that. So kind of some little breadcrumbs that come out and then say, come to this design workshop. So a lot of our early work will be data gathering, getting that first conversation going with NCDOT so that when we go to the design workshop, we have some feel for where NCDOT happens to be. So I told Amy when I sent her the scope that it is real quick, the work that we want to do in the spring, and if y'all are on board and along for the ride with us, we're here to do it, but it will be quick. So be prepared.
Good.
And can I say one thing that's off script a little bit? I was at a Great Trail State gathering today, just kind of talking about trails all day. And people were talking about the Nipawsi Mound, so kudos on that. But I got into a conversation with the guy, he's Mass General Store's Community Engagement Manager for all of the Mass General Stores. And I was telling him about being at a Main Street conference years ago, so connecting it back to what you're trying to do. And Mr. Cooper, who was Mr. Mast, he was talking about communities all the time they come to the Mast family or the Cooper family and say, come to my town, bring Mass General Store to my town. And they're super strategic about where they go. They say no way more often than they say yes, and you're probably familiar with their footprint. And what has always stuck out in my mind for years is him standing on that stage saying, why would we come and invest in your community when you won't invest in yourselves? And so I just wanted to, this has been very encouraging to sit here tonight not just because of, I'm getting this opportunity to work here, but just encouraging to see how you all are believing in yourselves and investing in yourselves, and it's exciting to be part of that. So there's my little aside.
Christy, I wanted to ask you, Allison talked a little bit about it, but how do you see these two planning efforts working together?
I think, I don't have a real specific answer for that because
You don't have an analogy?
I can't exactly come up with something. But I think, I saw the agenda and I saw Allison sitting there, so I made a beeline to go sit by her when we walked in this evening. But, Stacy, you know that my background is, the same place where where Allison comes from. I started with NC Commerce in a different form. I've worked with the Main Street. So I think the advantage is this is not a new thing for us to learn. We know the Main Street program and know kind of the pieces that need to go into that. And I think where I have a little bit of a sense of relief with the overlap is, you and I had talked about this earlier about the economic development overlap. It's hard to talk about a Main Street redesign without talking about economic impact and what's the plan for that. And we're not 100% scoped to do that. It's kind of a tangential evaluation. How does this affect things? But knowing that that piece is there, I think creates a bigger opportunity, a more holistic opportunity. You're gonna get the whole pie, Stacy, there's my analogy.
There you go.
So I think it's good, the timing is perfect, and we're just okay, we need to talk to each other. And so if you all give us permission to do that, I can share the schedule and where we're going.
Great.
I think she said it would be like hiking the Appalachian Trail.
The how part is what, interests me a lot. And will that include information about where we might find funding for some of these ideas, what the business owners will need to agree to do? There'll be some grit and, there'll be some specific details.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the how part, I think, will become clearer as we shake it down. By the time we get to the real small screen, it's going to be really clear on what the town needs to do. The town is the town of Franklin, what business owners can do. There may be some clarity about what the Main Street program, so if we're talking about, if we're saying Main Street will benefit from facade improvements, that's probably better under the Main Street program umbrella. And so there'll be some time to figure that out. But if we say we're going to talk about bump outs where you make your sidewalks a little bit wider in certain spots to reduce the crossing distance on your street. If we say you need every block or whatever it ends up being, you need bump outs, that would probably be something that the town would work with NCDOT during the repaving project. And so there might be stages of implementation, and that's another reason why we wanted to split the task orders, is to figure out kind of how we can phase things. What do you get through the paving project, and what do you need to invest in, and what are some of those funding sources that can help you invest in the future? The town is also in a good position to have funds to leverage other funds, and so that's part of the conversation that we can have as well, and that fits into implementation.
Since we are the county seat, I think it's going to be essential that we get the county, they take up a huge part of our downtown, so getting them engaged and thinking about how they could be of use, how they could be helpful, how they could participate in this would be.
Your church community,
oh yeah,
landowners as well.
Because this is a town of a lot of churches, and yeah, that's great.
Amy, did you say there was a budget amendment that needed to be approved as well, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
We would pull it from the fund balance.
Gotcha.
I kept trying to think whether this could be capital, but I think no, it's not a capital project. Never mind. I'm trying to think about it's not capital in any way.
It could be, but the way that we laid it out and the way we scoped it out was so that we didn't do a capital project ordinance, so that we had more concise numbers.
Okay.
We'll give you plenty of things to spend your capital money on.
Okay, good.
Motion to approve scope of work with, and the budget amendment to fund it.
All right, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Do you need actual, like in this, permission to communicate and work together, you and Allison?
I will look to your town manager to tell me whether we need formal permission or she says y'all can talk.
Y'all can talk.
All right.
Sweet.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you, Christie. All right. Item number 9, departmental updates.
Good report, Nicole.
We'll hear from Human Resources, our Human Resources Director, Nicole Bradley, who will be speaking for the next 45 minutes.
I'm good there. Good evening. Let's see, job opening update. We have, I don't have my glasses on either. A firefighter, we're still looking for the perfect candidate to fill that spot. Chief Setzer and myself, we have some applications to look through this week. That posting ended on Friday, so we will look through those and see what we can do there to get that filled down there at the fire department. Utility maintenance mechanic in our public works, that was extended until this coming Friday, so we've got some applications there, so we will look to sit down with Bill and Jim and myself next week to see what applicants we have and what interviews we can set up. We did fill the street maintenance position, Chris Baldrick did, and that individual will start next Monday, so a week from today, and then he'll be introduced to you all at your next board meeting. And then, of course, today I posted the fire chief position, so that job opening will be out there until May 1st. And then once we get all the applicants for that, we posted that one for 60 days. We will, Amy and myself will sit down and come up with our panel on how we're going to do those interviews and how that will go.
Where's that get advertised at?
Right now, it's on NC, it goes to NC Works, just like all of our others, and I think they push it through Indeed, and then they're going to create a LinkedIn advertisement. It's on our town Facebook page and as well as the fire department page.
And it'll be on
social media.
the League of Municipalities page as well.
Will it be in the paper some? Probably not.
No, we don't.
Typically.
Okay.
I was just thinking like any trade journals, like, but it sounds like it's pretty widely advertised anyway, so.
Yeah, NC Works is a great resource for us. They push it out there. Yvonne Cano at NC Works, she does great with her graphics. And like I say, LinkedIn, they share it on their social media page, which goes all across the state. So those are our openings. We have our benefit open enrollment coming up in May. So Amy, I know it's time again, Rita. Time again. Amy, Sarah, and myself, we met with the ladies from Wire. We worked with Emily Westdeal and Shelley Norris at Y Insurance. So they're working on our numbers for our insurance benefits. And then, of course, our property and commercial liability workers' comp, all that is also with Wyatt, and they're on that as well. Department supervisors are currently working on our annual employee evaluations. We had a new format this year. We decided to kind of go away from the format we've used for the last couple years, and I think it's working pretty well. We had a little bit of delay with some of our issues, but I think most everybody's got those turned in. We've reviewed them and have sent those back out for them to go over with employees. And that is all I have. Does anybody have any questions for me? Come on, Joe.
Go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. All right, we'll hear about tax collections and events from the best tax collector in the state of North Carolina.
Yay.
I should bake you a brownie. I actually really likes my cake pops better. I just hate making them. As far as taxes, we are at 93% collection rate, and we have collected 27,000 over what needed for budget, and that's just in this current year. We have other goals set for other previous years. All of them have been met, but previous 2024 taxes, and it's only short, like $500, but what we've collected over and everything else fixes that. So we have collected just over $3,102,000, and goal was $3,075,000. This week, we sent out 370 late notices, and basically, if you're not paid by the 31st of March, we will advertise you. So
Is that when it goes in the paper, the delinquent list?
So I think it was like 384 by the time we got it all out. But Kathy let me know today she already got 2 what I call love letters back. They're really. Actually, I hate sending them out, but because like we have some nice people that are never on it, and then we have some people who are always on it, and I think they just throw it in the trash. But we have met our goal, so that is kind of nice, and hopefully we get more than that. I like to be at like 97-98% collection rate. As far as events, we've been working on July 4th since probably November. And we've actually got a lot more stuff done this last meeting. We're going to have a 2-day event, starts at Parker Meadows. So since the county, the chamber, and the town are all together, we're trying to do everything for that kind of stuff. We'll still have our stuff, but just to kind of give a rundown, July 3rd, everybody, for the most part, is off, and it's a Friday. So we're going to start at Parker Meadows. We're going to have fun things like 3-on-3 basketball, cornhole, kickball, softball, just a lot of stuff out at Park Meadows, and use that resource and just be out there. And then that evening we're going to come downtown and have like a big picking on the square. We're going to try to make it longer. We're going to have food trucks, all of that. And we've already booked Jason Passmore, who is a local boy, but he's kind of gone all over playing and stuff. So we're excited about that. And then the next day we obviously will do our stuff down here, going to make things a little bit bigger, and then finish out at the rec park. So we're going to kind of use all the different resources. And then as far as picking on the square, we have, I think, 5 of the 11 days set already. So going through applications and bands, and I got one that does some oldies, maybe a little bit of beach music has been requested.
Dusty needs to come. Dusty Davis needs to come.
So if they apply, I have a few more
Need to
days.
reach out to him. I'll get you his contact information.
Yeah, let me know. I try to do a little bit of everything. I somehow get, before when I started, I think we got a lot of like bluegrass, and then now it's kind of switched to, everybody calls it Americana or something like that, and it's all like old country and rock, and it's great, but we kind of want to try to do a little bit of everything. So I'm working on that. And then Pumpkin Fest applications are out, and we've already got some coming in, and it's the 30th year, so that is definitely going to be 250th year for July 4th and 30th year for Pumpkin Fest. I'm bored, so send me anything you need. But yeah, so, and if you guys have anything, we've been doing this for a while. I know like the fire breathing dragon was great and everybody loves that, but if there's certain things that you guys have come out and seen, or you hear people might want us to bring it back, let me know, because we'll start booking that soon, actually.
Can you say semi-quincentennial 3 times fast?
No. Is that the one we picked? I don't remember. I have paid attention sometimes.
Joe, you gonna grow a beard?
Yeah. It comes out red.
Yeah.
Joe will love this. We are.
Well, the old men, like, didn't we do that for the sesquicentennial? We all grew beards?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See who can grow the biggest beard.
Well, it was a town thing. It wasn't just a town board thing. It was
Somebody had it.
yeah, there's your winner right there, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have a good clean shave of the
We're
stars.
gonna be fair. I'm up for anything. We are bringing the pining contest back. That's disgusting. But,
See, they showed the old Great Locomotive Chase too, didn't they?
I didn't
they
see
have
that.
one? Anyway, I was just,
I remember when they all grew beards.
Trying to make it bigger, a little bit better this year. Pumpkin Fest always wins event of the year, but we just try to keep it interesting. And so, I think that's it. Any questions?
Good job.
Any questions for Sabrina? Thank you. All right. Item C, we'll hear from a man with many hats, including the interim fire chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. I don't have a big fancy PowerPoint that you're used to, but I do have some stats and some info to go over. Obviously, you see the quarterly update in the agenda, but since the beginning of the year, January 21st, the fire department had an ISO rating. That's something that the state Office of Fire Marshal's office does. Every fire department, about between 5 and 10 years. They're doing it more often now. It used to be this long drawn out process, take multiple days, inspectors in town, and now they come in and they're in and out in like half a day doing your inspection. So usually you get your results within 60 to 90 days. So hopefully, sometime in March, 1st April, we'll know the results of our ISO rating. And then we'll make those aware then. In 2025, the fire department ran 1,978 calls for service. That's everything from medical calls to structure fires, fire alarms, hazmat calls, so on, wrecks. The members, that's including paid and volunteer, there was 6,148 training hours completed between, I believe that's 38 members roughly in the fire department in 2025. Nicole mentioned the firefighter position and the chief positions that are open currently. One big task that the fire department is fixing to have to go undertake is the reporting software that the fire department uses. Emergency reporting is no longer compliant with some federal standards, so we have to change to a new program. The county is funding that, so we're going with a program called Image Trend that is compliant with the new nearest reporting programs that you have to use for reporting fire calls and wrecks and so on. So in the process of doing that, the bad things you have to do them for the whole year. Once we get going with that, we'll have to re-enter all of our calls from the year, so there's going to be some work that has to be done. We're already at 327 calls this year, so there's a lot of reporting that's going to have to be done twice there. Part-time shifts, there's been some part-time shifts, quite a bit open because we've had that one position open for a while, and then we've had another engineer go out on medical. We've had to have a medical procedure, so we've had 2 shifts on one position on 2 shifts that we've been having to fill. Created a program down at the station, simple, just marking days every week. Open it up for the volunteers, and they're able to fill the shifts. And since we've started that, we've only had 1 shift that was not able to fill. It was on Valentine's Day. I guess people didn't want to take their day away from their spouses to work on Valentine's Day, but every shift's been filled so far. And lastly, this past Thursday, we had our 82nd annual oyster dinner at the fire department. It was well attended. We had I think 27 firemen were there, and there was 8 retired firemen there. And of course, there was police department and people, multiple from the council was there, and some from EMS. So it was well attended, and everybody had a good time. And that's all I've got for an update. Anybody got any questions?
Any questions for Justin?
Who had to climb up on top of that silo and put that fire out?
There was about 6 of them that went up there, climbed up there. I've done that climb before in the past. It's not fun.
I bet.
What is the ISO score? What does it affect if it's higher?
So every fire department has an ISO rating. Our current rating, we have a split rating. Inside the city limits, we're a class 3 rating. And then in our rural district, we're a class 4. So the lower the rating, that's better insurance ratings for commercial and residential structures. Now anything Below a 6 is only going to affect commercial structures. So your residential structures, if you see somebody, a rural apartment, and they're 6, and they're primary or residential district, they're not, in a part of the city. They've done the best they can do really for those residential structures. Then after that, you just see it's for commercial. And then, so every little bit, helps on their.
Lower the number, the cheaper your homeowner's insurance.
So the goal is hopefully to at least keep that 3-4, keep that same rating.
Thank you.
Justin, I joke with you about all the hats you wear, but thank you sincerely for stepping up and taking on additional responsibility. We appreciate it.
It's my honor.
All right, thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Item number 10, announcements. The next council meeting is Monday, April 6th. We will have a special called meeting, our budget discussion on Monday, April the 20th at 6 p.m. at Town Hall here in the boardroom. And I will now hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Meeting adjourned.